everybody, what's going on? I am Gregg Sussman. Super Bowl 54, just days away. And we got all the picks to make you all the money. Oh, I don't. But Gabe Morency knows. What's happening, Gabe?
We're ready to rock, Greg. Should be a great Super Bowl. And if you recall, before the playoffs started, Greg, when we did a six-pack of playoff predictions, we gave you the San Francisco 49ers versus the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl matchup plus 650. So you're already playing with house money.
Absolutely. This is free for you. So let's make more money. And let's start out with your pick, Gabe. The Chiefs, the Niners. You've gone back and forth on this one. Where did you end up?
I'll tell you what, Greg. I bet on my first Super Bowl in 1982. Ironically enough, it was the San Francisco 49ers in that football game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Pontiac Silverdome. San Francisco won the football game when it was all said and done. An epic comeback from Joe Montana. I can tell you. So I believe it's been 37 Super Bowls that I have bet on, and this has been one of the toughest, if not the toughest one of them all, to break down. Originally, I was buying into San Francisco, and we all remember what we saw last. And what we saw last was the NFC Conference Championship game, and what we saw last was Raheem Mostert just absolutely shred the Green Bay Packers. San Francisco check a lot of boxes, guys. 53 Super Bowls. The team with the higher-ranked defense has won 43 of them. That's right, 43 and 10 straight up, higher-ranked defense in Super Bowls. Defense does win championships in the National Football League. Team that runs for more yards in the Super Bowl has won 42 of the 53 Super Bowls. One Super Bowl, actually, both teams ran for the same amount of yards. In case you're wondering, it was the Patriots and the Falcons, but that's irrelevant right now. So if you add it up, who's got the higher-ranked defense? San Francisco. Who's probably going to run for more yards in this football game? San Francisco. This is incredible. Jimmy Garoppolo has started 28 games in his National Football League career. He's won 23 of them. He's 23-5. Straight up, Jimmy Garoppolo. And before anybody says, and I know you're thinking it right now, yeah, but he was on New England and he's on San Francisco. He's been on good teams. How good was San Francisco last year when Jimmy Garoppolo was hurt? I tell you, they weren't in the Super Bowl, now were they? Say what you will about Jimmy G. He finds a way to get it done. Kyle Shanahan, arguably the best play caller in the National Football League. So we have the higher-ranked defense. We have the better rushing attack. We have a great play caller, and we have a quarterback that's played in 28 games and has won 23 of them. Why don't I love the San Francisco 49ers here? Because Patrick Mahomes does not play for the San Francisco 49ers. And I've been around a long time. I've seen a lot of greats come and go in the sports world. And unfortunately, rest in peace, Kobe. We just lost a great champion and competitor. You know, Patrick Mahomes might smile more than a lot of these other killers did over the years, but Mahomes has that burning desire to be the best and to win like no other, and he got it from his father. Mahomes is just an unbelievable player that is the toughest player in the National Football League to stop, and maybe in NFL history to stop as well. He's accomplished everything there is to accomplish already in a career, this kid, all right? He's already won an MVP. He's only played in 35 games. He's won 28 of them, all right? What he hasn't done is won a Super Bowl. What I like about Kansas City and why I'm going to give you the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl is they've been through the playoff pain. They've got the scars to prove it, all right? They've had close encounters. Andy Reid's been knocking on the door. These guys have been around a while. Travis Kelce's been around a while. Tyreek Hill's been around a while. Damian Williams, nobody ever gives this guy credit for being as good as he is. Sammy Watkins, a guy that's been often criticized. Honey Badger. If you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they've got a lot of guys with chips on their shoulder. Frank Clark wasn't wanted by Seattle, etc. They've got a chip on their shoulder. They're also guys that have lost in big games before. I think this experience comes into play. I just can't buy into a team that won 4 games and the next year flicking a switch and winning the Super Bowl. And you know what it is? I heard Ross Perot once, and some people don't remember Ross Perot. He passed away. He's a rich Texan, oil guy. He ran for president 25 years ago or whatever. And he really caused a stir. And he dropped out of the race, then he came back into the race, and he was on the Larry King show, and it stuck with me. Larry King asked him, said, Ross, you changed your mind, now you're back in the race. He said, Larry, only dead and dumb people don't change their minds. And that always stuck with me. I might be dumb, but I'm not dead. And I'm not that dumb. You know what? I was on the Rams last year. I was wrong. I was on the Carolina Panthers a few years ago. I was wrong. I like the Falcons in that game. All these one-and-done NFC teams that come out of nowhere always fizzle out in the Super Bowl. I don't think San Francisco's going to fizzle out. I think it's going to be a high-scoring, fun football game, but I'm not getting in front of Patrick Mahomes. I said the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl before the year started. How the hell am I going to get in front of that right now? The Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. We're going to play the money line at a minus 128.
Gabe, you talked a lot about players with chips on their shoulder, guys that have lost before that they were not wanted. That's Andy Reid, too, man. That is this coach who's also very good off the bye week. Didn't work in his last Super Bowl. We'll see if it does here on Sunday. Gabe, you like the Kansas City Chiefs. If the Chiefs are going to win, they're going to score a lot of points. And the San Francisco is going to be from behind. They're going to score a lot of points. That means this game's going over.
I really do think it's going to go over, and I'm surprised that the number hasn't climbed more throughout the week. Listen, it opened in a 51.5 range, and it was quickly bet up to 54, ironically enough, in Super Bowl 54. And we've never had a closing number of 54 in a Super Bowl before either, which is pretty crazy. A lot of weird little numbers and tidbits here. Listen, the San Francisco 49er defense was great, and their secondary was great. But what happened when they played mobile or really good passing attacks? The New Orleans Saints put up like 48 points on these guys. Really high-scoring game, shredded their secondary. Jared Goff had a lot of success throwing the football against these guys. We saw Russell Wilson a couple of times have success. And, watching game tape and breaking this stuff down, San Francisco do have problems with quarterbacks that roll out and throw on the run, and Mahomes is better than all the aforementioned quarterbacks that we just talked about. San Francisco can score too, guys. San Francisco actually the second highest scoring team in the National Football League. Kansas City is third. Perception of reality is a funny thing, isn't it? I don't see how this game doesn't go over. I think we're going to get into the high 50s, Greg, maybe the low 60s. There will be points put up on the board. You're not stopping the Kansas City Chief offense. And San Francisco's play calling is so good, they're going to put points up on the board as well. I like the over, Greg.
I totally agree. I think these two bets go hand in hand, taking the Kansas City Chiefs and the over. Both teams are going to score points. You have a number coming, a prop coming in a little bit that I absolutely love, and it all ties into this. It's all related. We'll talk about that in a moment. But Niners and Chiefs going over on Super Bowl Sunday. Up next for us is the Chiefs team total. You like the game to go over, and you like the Chiefs to score more than 27.5 points against this vaunted San Francisco defense. Well, we're all in agreement on over. But why do you like the Chiefs to go over that team total?
Well, what I like about this, and I don't want to be too Chief dependent, but what I like about this is the fact that they can score over 27.5 points and still lose the football game, but we win this bet. Mahomes, as we talked about, Mahomes, 28-7 as a starter in the National Football League in 35 games, Greg. But it's amazing when you actually look at what he's done. He's never lost a game by more than 7 points. And get this, he's also scored 27 or more points in 28 of 35 games, guys. All right? Play Madden on your couch, and you're not going to score 27 or more points in 28 of 35 games. We got a total of 27.5 here. Let's keep it simple, stupid. We're going to ride the team total over the number, over 27.5 for the Chiefs.
Let's just keep riding that total. Even if the Chiefs do wind up losing, we may be able to cash this one. You got to like the Chiefs going over their point total. Gabe, it doesn't just end with the Chiefs. We'll get to that just in a moment. Because if the Niners are going to hang in this game, they need more from Jimmy Garoppolo, their superstar quarterback in his own mind. There's two props you like here. Let me start with the rushing one. You like him going over 3.5 rushing yards. I believe like 10 out of 16 games this season, he didn't get over that number, and then you're buying over 3.5.
I think that we're getting a lot of value now with Jimmy Garoppolo. And if you guys recall, I know it's been 2 weeks, but what was my best prop bet that I gave you a couple of weeks ago? Jimmy Garoppolo under 31.5 pass attempts. That's right, man. He ended up throwing the ball, like 8 times or whatever it was. This game is a little bit different. He's going to have to throw the ball here. And I think we're getting value, guys, with Jimmy Garoppolo's rushing prop and his passing prop. Let's start off with the rush yards right now. 3.5 yards, guys. Jimmy Garoppolo isn't King Kong Bundy, and may he rest in peace as well. But he's not King Kong Bundy, all right? Jimmy Garoppolo is a good athlete. Jimmy Garoppolo is more than capable of scrambling for a couple of yards. It's the Super Bowl. There's going to be a couple of plays where things break down, and he's going to take off in a situation that he probably wouldn't have in the regular season, not to mention a QB sneak here or there. 3.5 yards is just too low. And if you break it down, actually, Greg, in 4 of the last 5 regular season games, Yeah, I mean, like real games. Those two playoff games were very strange. They were up, they ran the ball all the time. It was like watching a military football team play. But when they played real football games during the regular season, 4 of the last 5 football games, he went over 3.5 yards rushing. You want to go a little bit deeper? 5 of the last 7 games, he went over 3.5 yards rushing, and he will go over 3.5 yards rushing on Sunday in Super Bowl Sunday. Give me Jimmy G over 3.5 rushing yards.
Gabe's been able to handicap Jimmy G pretty well. And this week, he says he's going over the number of rushing yards. It's at 3.5. Jimmy G, let's keep it going. And that brings us to his passing yards. This is my favorite prop on the board, Gabe. I absolutely love Jimmy G over passing yards. For the last 2 weeks, the narrative around the San Francisco 49ers is how much they run the football. They ran it through Green Bay. You just mentioned it. He threw the ball 8 times. Kyle Shanahan's going to come out slinging in this game. I love this prop.
You're a smart man, Mr. Sussman, because you're exactly right. You know what I think's going to happen, too? KC's going to come out running.
You're right.
No, watch. People are going to beat all Mahomes this. You're going to see Damian Williams going to get like 7 carries in the first quarter probably. And people are going to be a bizarre world. And you're exactly right. Jimmy G is going to come out slinging it. Every game is different. It's not as if, though, they had that game plan because they're scared of throwing the football. They had that game plan because Shanahan is very Belichick-like. He does whatever he thinks is the best possible plan against that opponent at the time. And he sort of knew. If we get the lead up on Kirk Cousins, they're going to be in trouble. Green Bay just sort of fell apart fast. And what happened in the second half? Aaron Rodgers started throwing the ball around on these guys. I think KC is going to have a lead in this game. San Francisco is going to have to play from behind as well. It's just too low, Greg, at 240.5 yards. Great play calling, great speed, yards after catch. George Kittle has been non-existent in the playoffs, but he's going to rear his ugly head in this spot. Not that he's ugly. It was just, that's the expression. So nothing personal against you, George. But 240.5. And how about this too, Greg? In the last 9 regular season games, he went over 240.5 passing yards 7 times, dude. 7 times in real games. When they played against Seattle, 248, 424, 300 and this. He's a real quarterback. He has weapons. And what a game that I expect to get into the high 50s, I got to take the quarterback at over 240.5 passing yards.
For all the reasons Gabe mentioned, for all the reasons I mentioned, we're in on Jimmy G going over this number. 240 passing yards, it's too low. He's going over the number for sure. Final prop, and Gabe, you've been all over this for 2 weeks. Really, since Bill Vinovich was announced as the referee for Super Bowl 54. You've spoken about Michael Thomas's quote regarding Bill Vinovich and his crew, keeping the flags in their pockets. That's his style. That's their style. It's going to be more of the same on Super Bowl Sunday.
Well, if you guys recall last year in the infamous non-call between the Rams and the Saints, the non-pass interference call, that was Bill Vinovich's crew that didn't call that. Bill Vinovich is famously known for letting the players play. I don't have a problem with it. As somebody that, grades and keeps my eye on NFL referees pretty closely, Vinovich actually is one of the better ones. Only 2 referees in the National Football League had less penalties called in football games than Vinovich does. We always hear the expression, come on, man, let the players decide, let the players play. The problem is he goes too far with this, as Michael Thomas, Saint wide receiver, once famously stated earlier this year, oh, no, Vinovich is doing the game. He don't even bring flags to the stadium with him. He's a wide receiver, so he's got that perception. It doesn't mean that Vinovich won't step up and make a controversial call at some point in time. He is an NFL referee, after all. But generally, he's going to let them play. We have 2 disciplined football teams as well. Neither team is reckless with penalties. They're both well coached. A lot of veterans and smart guys on both teams. 12.5 is a lot of penalties. That's 12.5 penalties accepted. So I need 13 penalties accepted in this football game. I just don't see it, Greg. Give me the under 12.5 penalties in this contest.
Even though it's been an all-star crew with Bill Vinovich, Vinovich is the leader of that crew, and he does not want the game to be defined by penalties. 12.5's a lot. We don't expect that on Sunday, which means you need to go under this number. That's going to do it for us here on the FanDuel Hurry Up. Gabe, best of luck this weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl.
May the winners be yours, Greg.
Everybody out there, place your bets, get to the window, win some cash, and join us next week with football season over. We got NBA, we got golf, we got baseball coming as well. A whole lot more coming your way. For Gabe Morency, for myself, Gregg Sussman, for everybody here that works the FanDuel Hurry Up, enjoy Super Bowl Sunday, and we'll see you back next week right here on the Hurry Up.